Hi, I'm Amelia Kennemer, and today I will be talking about self-help groups in regard to recovery and addiction treatment. Self-help groups that work towards recovery help people abstain from mind-altering chemicals like tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs, as well as non-productive compulsive disorders. To name some of the 12-step programs that are available, we have Alcoholics Anonymous for people addicted to alcohol. We have Narcotics Anonymous, which is mostly used for any illicit drugs. A lot of people go for addiction to opiates or methamphetamines or amphetamines. There's Gamblers Anonymous, which is used for people who have a compulsive addiction to gambling, which can also relate to any other type of addiction. They have others like Nicotine Anonymous, Couples Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous. They really tend to have a support group that is really specific to your needs and your type of addiction. This is why 12-step groups work for so many people around the world, because they are able to aim to a large variety of addictions. 12-step programs have been used worldwide due to its local and online chapters and the abundance of them. This has also been a main choice for drug courts. They found that the 12-step process works for a lot of the community. However, because 12-step programs are considered spiritual based by their attendees, this may be considered a turn off for people who do not have backgrounds in theism. It is also documented that more people who do identify with their spirituality will have a higher attendance rate than those of the group or population that follows a more secular standpoint. Because of the more popular becoming secular belief, this has generated other self-help groups that include a more rational therapy approach or overview of the genesis of one's irrational thoughts or expectations. Another therapeutic model that has been making headway along with the 12-step groups like AA and previously mentioned NA, a group therapy called self-management and recovery training. Secular Organizations for Sobriety was founded specifically aimed towards people for all backgrounds, and it obtains from implementing a spiritual aspect like its counterpart 12-step programs with AA and NA. It was initially formed when the founder realized that although 12-step groups work for a lot of people, they are not necessarily the most comfortable to attend if you are agnostic or atheist. This group functions a lot like the Anonymous group in the way that they have specific readings at every meeting and rely on support for success. Secular Organizations for Sobriety was founded specifically aimed towards people for all backgrounds and obtains from implementing a spiritual aspect. It was initially formed when the founder realized that although 12-step groups like AA and NA work for a lot of people, they are not necessarily the most comfortable to attend if you are agnostic or atheist. This group functions a lot like the Anonymous groups in the way that they have a specific readings in the beginning of every meeting, also towards the end of every meeting, and they rely on support for the success of recovery or abstinence. Smart therapy also uses the ABCs of rational emotive behavior therapy. These consist of identifying irrational thoughts or beliefs and then formulating them in a way for you to understand that they are irrational and be able to make better judgments or more rational judgments or goals in the future. Smart therapy also uses a model called the ABCs, and this is usually used in any type of rational emotive behavior therapy. For the ABCs, the A consists of debating situation. So what situation or what happened? What kind of event led you to B, which is belief, or more specifically, irrational belief? Now, C would be the consequences for this belief, goal, expectations. So for the consequences, when you have an irrational expectation of someone or something or an event, this may lead you to feel a certain way or act a certain way that is more negative. D is when you dispute these irrational beliefs and ask questions. You may think about maybe why you believe this certain instance should be this way, and then answering back in a more rational manner. The final model, E, is the effective thinking. So with effective thinking, you can then refer back to B and understand maybe what this goal was that was maybe unrealistic or irrational, and then formulate it into a rational belief or thought. So in the future, we don't have to feel this way or think this way. To give an example of the ABC model that is commonly used in rational therapy and self-help groups such as SMART, I'll give an example of, say, a woman who just got her hair done. So she just got her hair done. She wants people to compliment her. She thinks that if my hair is pretty, people will compliment it. Say, I need compliments. So C, if she doesn't get compliments, she may think that she's ugly. Now D would be her kind of answering her own questions. Why do I believe that I need compliments to feel pretty or to feel loved? Then for E, you might, this is when you replace the need for compliments with a new, more attainable goal. So E may change this to, I need to feel good about myself. So thus understanding that you don't need compliments to feel the opposite, which would be pretty. This is commonly used in addiction treatments due to recovering addicts blaming a lot of what they've been through on other people. They kind of tend to blame other people, or the opposite, and they feel a lot of guilt for what they do. Now, we try to stay in the moment and not try and stay in the past. I think that's one of the main goals for this type of model. This tends to work Pretty much for every situation. I think it's one of the best models that can be used in support groups. There's a widespread belief that addiction is truly a disease. These meetings act in an indefinite revolving door fashion. Members can attend meetings indefinitely, and anyone can attend. Some groups differ with rules within the meeting, such as some groups like AA do not promote crosstalk, while other groups like Smart Recovery may encourage it. Another facet that has been documented successful in the rational recovery groups, opposed to the more traditional 12-step anonymous groups, is the ability to reach an audience that deals with comorbid disorders such as anxiety and depression that can coincide with addiction. Although self-help group therapy can aid in comorbidity, it is also not recommended for acute care interventions. These interventions would be better with more intense shortened group periods. Person in regard to religious background, ethnic and multicultural backgrounds. Due to the abundance of groups, it is unlikely that someone needing support in addiction recovery would not be able to find a chapter that tends to them, whether in their community or online. For this, I believe that self-help is an extremely important therapeutic practice in and outside the United States, no matter if you are in a more spiritual group like the anonymous 12-step groups or more rational recovery support groups and self-help groups like the SMART and Stations for Sobriety.